we're going to have some fun to finish the day. Agile Day Twin Cities is back live, and we have a keynote speaker today that is going to warm up the room. We're going to shoot some hoops. Her name is Jennifer O'Neill. She's the Vice President of the NBA, guys. Woo! This lady has been transforming organizations and people for over 25 years. She's a team player. She knows how to play offense and defense. That's rare. She's also someone that delivers the business. Technology is what gets her going. It's a thrill for her. She's been working day and night on this app that is going to be a big launch next week. So she gets what you guys go through all the time. She has to be behind her teams. She has their back. You guys know how important that is. She's also responsible for operations and delivery. You know, there's something that we don't always see when we look at these huge organizations that are in professional sports. They have to build the fan experience. That's their true client. When you develop software, who are you developing for? When you're working on delivering something, who do you have to spark with joy? So, she's a driven, passionate, transformational leader, and I want you to give her a warm welcome. Jennifer O'Neill is our keynote speaker to close the day.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? No? Oh, there we go. Now we have power. All right. Let me see all of my NBA fans in the house. Raise your hand, scream, woo! Exactly, yes. Season just started, super excited. Season just started, super excited. Who's your favorite teams? Yell out your favorite teams. Hawks. Who else? Milwaukee Bucks. All right, excellent, excellent. Let me find my little clicker. All right, so I'm extremely grateful to be here today. It's been a long road to get to the point where I'm at right now, and honestly, I did not imagine myself where I am today, not meaning on this stage, but the path that I ended up on in my life. But before I dive into that, I want to take a moment to thank MC. Now, MC from Cprime, thank you very much. MC wanted me to come out here dribbling a basketball or something, and I said, you know what? I do not know how to dribble a ball. So that would have been a terrible experience for everyone to witness. But I want to thank MC for this opportunity, for a partner, a friend of ours that introduced us, for the many opportunities that we've had so far to conversate and do some amazing things together, and for what's to come. Thank you. I'm grateful to be here and speaking in front of all of you. One of the things I want to talk about is, before we dive into the topic of change, is about my journey. Like I said, I didn't imagine myself where I am today, not saying on this stage, but following in the footsteps of technology like others before me was not something that I aspired to do. It wasn't on my radar screen. I had a different plan, a different purpose, a different path, a different goal, a different vision, different things that I wanted to do. I wanted to go into business for myself. I wanted to be my own boss, do things my way. I didn't want to go to work for the man. But being the rebellious teenager that I was growing up in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., my parents kind of laid down the law and said, if you want to live here, you're going to school. I said, I don't want to go to college. Why do I gotta go to college and take classes, things that have nothing to do with what I want to do? Well, if you want to live in this house, you're going to go to school. All right. So I went to my local community college, took some classes, Some classes I wanted to take, some classes I didn't want to take. All out of being forced by my parents, and by the way, if you want to stay here, you got to pay rent and you got to pay for your school. Okay? Fair enough. So I went to school, got a job, was working a job and going to school at night. And I was actually, in 1994, I was working for this small software development firm in McLean, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. And if any of you know the area, it's a big technology corridor now, like Reston, Herndon. That area is just huge technology corridor on the East Coast outside of D.C. So I'm working as an office manager for this small software development firm that is building long-distance billing software for Bell Atlantic and Bell South. If any of you have ever heard of the Bells, Bell Atlantic and GTE joined forces back in early 2000s and became Verizon, and Bell South was acquired by AT&T also somewhere in the early 2000s as well. So the Bells are now Verizon and AT&T. So the team that was working there in the office was building this long-distance billing system. And I guess one day, they were shorthanded with testing. They didn't have any testers to test out the application. So they came up to me, office manager, sitting at my desk in the front. Hey, would you like to participate in our testing effort and act like you're an end user of the system? We really want to see what it's like for an end user. What's the experience of the end user? So I said, absolutely. I guess I should go forward in my journey. So I said, absolutely, let me try it out. Why not? It couldn't hurt. Sounds fun. What do I got to do? Come with me. Come sit down in front of this big computer monitor. I'm going to give you this document. You're going to do what the document tells you to do. Just follow the instructions of the document, and he walked away. So I'm looking at this thing, and it looks like maybe the beginnings of a user manual. So I start testing, I'm reading the manual, I'm testing, I'm reading, I'm testing, and I'm like, well, how do I know it's working? Just because the manual says this is what it's supposed to do, how do I know it's working? I started asking all these questions. Well, what happens if I do this versus that? So he got pretty annoyed with me pretty quickly and said, you know what, here's a document, this thick. Read through this, slam. It was a 9 on the Richter scale once it hit the table. If any of you have ever worked in government contracting before, your documentation was at least this thick. So I start reading through this document, trying to figure out, well, how do I know it's supposed to work? Why, where are the requirements? I'm reading through, and I'm like, this is fascinating. All of this documentation about this, and look, it's come to life on the screen here, and the users can use it, and they can interact with it, and they can do things. This is fantastic. So that was pivotal moment number 1 in my career. Boom, the beginning of my technology career. I said, I got to do this. I got to learn this. I don't know what this is, but I got to do this. I got to learn more. I got to study. I got to do it. So I continued on in my career, learning everything I could about testing, about software development. I taught myself HTML, JavaScript, ASP, Cold Fusion, learned how to do front-end web development, went into business analysis to really understand what it was like to write user story, back then it wasn't user stories, back then it was functional requirement specs. To write these big functional requirement specs. I wanted to learn more and do more, so I spent time sitting next to developers, asking a million questions. What is that? Why are you doing? What's that word? Why does it look like that? Why does it do that? What happens if da-da-da-da? I was just this inquisitive mind that wanted to know, wanted to know, wanted to know. So as I continued on my career, I ended up going independent back in 2005, I believe it was, as a business analyst, business systems analyst, product manager, that type of a role. And in 2005, I had a client that brought in several vendors to help build an application for their company, for FINRA. So this was for the Series 7, Series 6 exams that everybody takes today. We were building the testing application that delivered the tests to these people. And a group of consultants came in from another company and started talking about this Agile, Scrum. Like, what is this? What is this nonsense? I'm used to writing use cases and following RUP, right? How many of us followed RUP when RUP was a thing? What about CMMI? all the levels of CMMI, going through all of that training and certification. So during my whole time of learning all of these new things, there were big pivotal changes going on in the software development community around processes. CMMI was in play, RUP was a big thing. So learning all of these things, learning these new processes, then I get to this place and I hear Scrum, Agile, we gotta do this. And I'm like, oh God, not another process. We don't need another process. So as I'm going through the motions and really learning and understanding what this Scrum framework thing is all about, I'm getting excited because I'm seeing it in action. I'm like, this is really cool. Like, people are talking to each other. They're not just throwing stuff over the wall. They're in a room, they're conversing, they're collaborating, they're up on the wall with stickies, they're on the whiteboard. Like, this is exciting, it's energetic. It's not just me sitting in my cube writing requirements and handing a document off and waiting for 3, 4, 5, 6 months for it to come back and me to say, nope, that's not it. We've all done that before. So it was exciting just to see people working together and not sitting in these silos and handoffs and moving requirements to design to development and to testing, and then maybe after a year you get to see some type of a product, again, just for it to be completely wrong. So it was exciting, this excited me. And I think that was probably pivotal moment number 2 in my life, where I was introduced to this thing that blew my mind. And I said, we all have to do this. Everybody has to do this. I'm going to tell everybody. I went to everybody I knew, every other team in the company that wasn't working this way. I said, you got to do this. This is amazing. Everybody I knew outside of that job, you got to do this. This is amazing. It's wonderful. So for the next several years, as an independent consultant, I went to company after company after company to help them transition the way they worked, transform the way they worked, implement Agile, implement Scrum, implement Kanban. And of course, you know, it's a disaster. It's always a disaster when you start coming in there and trying to change everybody's ways of doing things, what they're used to. And then I encountered pivotal moment number 3, where I finally got it. I finally understood what Agile was about. It took years. After going and doing, going through the motions. Yeah, we're a Scrum team. We have a stand-up every morning. It's 30 minutes. We do sprint planning, you know, maybe once a month we get together. Oh, and guess what? We use Jira, so we are definitely Agile. We've all seen that, heard that, and done that, and been through it, and probably coached people that way too. So we've all learned our mistakes, learned from our mistakes. So when I finally realized that Agile was not about just doing those things, it really was about your frame of mind, your mindset. It was about the mushy-gushy stuff. Right? How to communicate with people, how to lift people up. I don't want to use the word empower, even though Fernando's not here anymore. I'm afraid to use that word now. I'm never using the word empower again. But lifting up people, helping them to see that, you know, it's a collaborative effort that we have to do together. We all have to have our eyes on the same goal, the same prize, and we have to do this together. We have to help each other out to deliver what it is that we need to get into our customers' hands, right? So really taking a step back and understanding the values and the principles that the manifesto brought about and what they really truly mean. And that kind of became my next mission. Well, I'm going to teach people that, you know, this is what Agile is really about. It's not about the Scrum meetings, the Scrum events. It's not about people just delivering something every 2 weeks. It's not about those mechanics. It really is about something that's more deep. The way you think, your philosophy, the way you work together, the mushy-gushy stuff, which a lot of people have a hard time dealing with. We got deadlines. We don't have time for this. What's this retrospective thing? We don't have time for this. Get to work. I'm sure we've all been through that, right? Yep, don't have time for this. Let's skip the retrospective. Retrospective is the most important meeting you can ever have. So that was my mission after that, was, you know what, I want people to really understand what this Agile thing is. So I went out and I did meetups and spoke at conferences, did what I could to make an impact in the community. However, the community was really ugly. There was a lot of turmoil in the Agile community. People were arguing and fighting amongst themselves on what's the better framework. No, Agile is about this. No, Scrum is better. And there was so much just back and forth, negative, nasty stuff. I said, I got to step back from this. I got to take a step back and really focus on what it's all about. But at the same time, I said, you know what? I'm going to go learn all of these frameworks so I can make my own decision. So I went and got my SPC. I went and got my LESS certification. I went and got design thinking and how to run design sprints. I went and got training from the back of the room. You name it, I went and did it. I already had my CSM and my CSPO. So let's just add some more on the list. I want to make my own mind up. I don't want to hear the arguing community talk about this versus that and really missing the whole point of all of this. So I did. I disappeared from the community for a while and just did my own thing and focused on what was important to me and the message that I was trying to deliver and to drive with the organizations that I was helping. So I think about Fernanda's message at the end of her keynote this morning about, so who am I? Who am I? Well, I am a facilitator, a teacher, a coach, a mentor, a friend, a cheerleader, a teammate. I am all of these things all the time to whomever I'm dealing with. That is me and that is who I am. A therapist, a protector. I play 100 million roles in my job. And I love every single one of them because every team, every person, every leader, they all need something a little different. So you can't be a one and done. You've got to be that T-shaped individual. You have to have these skills across the top. Agile isn't about just coming in and saying, we're going to run sprints. We're going to be a scrum team. Everybody needs to be a scrum team. It really is about having the skills across the board to sit down and listen to people to help them on their journey, to help understand where they are today and how you can help them get to where they need to be because change is scary, change is fearful. So that's me, that's what I am. I am all of those things all the time, and I love it. That excites me, it's thrilling. Change. I love the topic of this session, change, because it's all around us and it's just becoming more and more and more prevalent in every single thing that we do. And it's faster and faster and more, right? I've got 2 Gen Z children that I want to strangle half the time, but I get where they're coming from because I sit down and I have these conversations with them. What do you want? What are you expecting? How do you think the world works? My daughter graduated from a private university back in 2021. She's still looking for a job in her major. She did a double major in marketing and business. Now, granted, I can say she's probably not looking as hard as I think she should, but she's still having these challenges, and I'm trying to help her. I'm trying to figure out why. Why is she having these challenges? So I set her up to talk to a friend of a friend who owns a digital marketing agency in New York City, and I said, let's call up Kathy and let's talk to her. Let's just see if she has some advice for you. Maybe look at your resume and see if there's some pointers. Maybe she has some connections she can introduce you to. And I'm going to call in just to listen, just so, I'm not a marketer either, so I want to learn too, and then I can help you. So I dial into the Zoom. My daughter's 7 minutes late to the Zoom. She gets the Zoom call. She's sitting in a tank top with her bra straps hanging out, leaning against the wall with the Zoom video camera on. I am just devastated. Oh, my God, what is she thinking? And then half the time, there's no eye contact. It's looking this way and looking that way and saying, well. And I'm just like, I'm melting at this point. I'm like, So I call up my friend afterwards, and I'm like, she's like, don't worry, I know. The bad part about it was that she had emailed me right before that call and said, I actually have a job opening on my team for a social media marketer. Maybe it's something your daughter would be interested in. And I'm like, yep, she just threw that chance out the window. So I call up my daughter, and I say, we need to have a chat. Come on over. So she comes over the other night. And I'm like, so here's some key takeaways I got out of the session with Kathy the other day. And I'm going through it, and she's like, well, Mom, this was just talking to one of your friend's friends. And I'm like, honey, I know that's what it seems like, but this is still a business conversation. You need to come prepared. You need to come and look professional. You need to treat this as if, you know what, maybe she knows 30 different people she can introduce you to get a job. Oh yeah, well that makes sense. I'm like, what is this world coming to? Change is what this world is coming to. But I love change, it excites me. Everything that I do is all about change. I move all the time, I don't stay in one place. Like literally, I moved to Jersey City back in 2009. I just upped and sold my house and moved to the New York City area. Whoop, come on kids, let's go. Got the kids out of school, got them enrolled here, found a house, whoop, let's go. Like, you know, the jaws on the floor, what? I'm like, come on, let's go, we're moving. We move up there, and literally, I've been up in the Jersey City, North New Jersey area now for 13 years. I've moved 7 times. Yeah, that's a lot. But I like change. I lived here, oh, this is great. I want to do something a little different now. We'll move over here. Oh, this is great. Change, I love change. When I was 40, I decided I'm going to get my certified personal trainer license because I loved working out. I was always in the gym. I was always a sports nut. I was not basketball, though. Can't dribble a ball, remember? So I went and I got my certified personal trainer license. Then I got into nutrition, and I started doing it on the side because I just really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a passion. Then at the age of 42, I said, you know what? I'm going to start competing in bodybuilding. So I just did it, right? 2 years later, my daughter graduates college. You know what? I'm going to pick back up motorcycle riding again. So I went and bought myself a Harley and started riding again. I love change. Change helps you grow. It helps you get out of your comfort zone. It helps you try new things and experiment, find things that you never thought that you enjoy. So I love it. I thrive on change. I'm going to ask every one of you at the table, at each of your tables right now, to kind of count off 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 at each of your tables. Just take a minute and go ahead and count off 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. Can I have the threes stand up? All of the threes, please stand up. All of the threes, please stand up. All right, look around the room and see how many threes are standing up. 1 in 3 people would not change if they didn't have to. 1 in 3 people would not change if they did not have to. Just think about that statement for a minute. And looking at all the people in the room right now, these are the people you deal with when you're doing your Agile transformations. These are the people that are going to prevent us from evolving as a society. All right, number 3s, you can sit down. Number 1s, stand up. Number 1s, stand up. You all are the quitters. One in 3 people will quit if they don't see results fast enough in what they were doing. So, hello, quitters. Thank you. You guys can sit back down now. Thank you for being such good participants. But it's scary, though. Think about it. How many Agile coaches are in this room? Scrum masters, people that are trying to do transformational change in any way, shape, or form. Probably a majority of you in this room right now. And this is what you have to deal with. You have to deal with so much resistance to change. It's hard, isn't it? It's extremely hard. And we give up. Some of us have given up and be like, I can't work with this client anymore. This is ridiculous. It's not going to work. Right? "79% of businesses need to adapt their business every 2 to 5 years. Oh shit, I got to go through this every 2 to 5 years. Yes, we have to go through this change every 2 to 5 years. It sucks. Really sucks. Everybody familiar with this drawing? Yeah? How true is this? Very true. And if you got to do this every 2 to 5 years, you might as well just pack it up. But this is what it's all about, and this is so accurate, and I see this over and over and over and over again. And what's funny is this curve mimics the Tuckman's model. Is everybody familiar with the Tuckman's model? Stages of forming and developing teams, forming, norming, storming, performing. Denial, anger, shock, fear. How many of you have dealt with people that exhibit these characteristics when you're going through your change? Oh my gosh, it's so hard. Yes. How do you deal with it? What's that? Depression, acceptance, commitment. When they see the light. One day they'll see the light. And when they do, they're ready to make a commitment. And they're ready to go through with the change. But this is not a quick curve that you get through. It takes a long time to get through this curve. And these 3 stages, there's certain ways you have to show up and deal with people in these 3 stages. It's not the same for each stage. Anybody heard of open source change? Anybody use open source change as a tactic? Using it now? Raise your hand if you've heard of it. Not a lot of people. I'm experimenting with this myself right now, and I'm finding it to be very successful. How many of us have done top-down changes that have been mandated from the powers that be up above? Thou shalt be agile, right? Yes, we've all been through those. They are not fun, especially when the higher-ups don't even know what the hell they're talking about. But yes, there's this thing called open source change, and it's where you get the people involved in the change. You get them to have some ownership and accountability, to set some of the guidelines, to set some of the goals and objectives, to help measure progress, to be a voice and to communicate, rather than everything coming from the top down. It's coming from the sides, it's coming from the bottom, it's coming from this diagonal, that diagonal. It makes it so much more successful, 58% more successful, as opposed to 34% coming from the top down. If you don't know what open source change is, look it up, read it, start looking at how you can apply it to the change that you're trying to bring to whatever you're doing. It's been a lifesaver for us, because instead of me saying, here's what you're going to do, I ask a group of people, what do you think we should do? I may know the answer, or I might think I know the answer, but I get to hear 10 other perspectives from other people that live it, they're in the trenches, they understand it, they see it, and they have a voice, and they bring that voice to the table. And it makes it so much easier to lock arms together and go through change together rather than being told you have to change. So look it up. It's very powerful. Drivers of change. Drivers of change. There's a lot of things that drive change. The market, being competitive, the user experience, and user engagement. For us at the NBA, we've been a company focused around the game of basketball and focused around licensing our content and building strategic partnerships. And that's what we've been about. We've not been a technology company. We outsource all of that. We're not a product company. Our product is basketball. But we haven't been close to our fans for years. We outsourced the work. You go see what the fans want. You build the applications. You test it out, and you see how it performs, and come back and let us know. We realized that was a completely wrong way of looking at it. If we wanted more engagement, if we wanted global reach, if we wanted to be the best out there, and which we are right now on all of our social media platforms, we are at the top. We are beating NFL. All of them. Yes. Yes. So we said, you know what? We got to do this ourselves. We need to bring the talent in-house. We need to build the capability in-house. We need to do this because we need to be close to the fans. We need to listen to the fans. We need to hear what it is that they want. We need to understand their behavior, right? The fan experience was a huge driver for us. We want them to have the best experience possible. We want to know everything that they love and they hate about our websites, our applications, our products, our services, everything that we want to do. And in order to do that, we need to talk to the fans, and we need to talk to them frequently. And we need to listen. Fan experience. Evolving technology. Oh God, technology. I feel like I'm turning into my father, who has never used a computer in his life. And I'm looking at, what is this thing? I don't know how to use this. Somebody come help me. I'm turning into that person. I'm like, I was never going to turn into that person. But technology is evolving so fast that I can't keep up. So we have to learn to keep up. We have to be able to reach our fans at a global level. We have to be able to have global reach, global influence. They need to be able to get to us anytime, anywhere, on any device, in any way means necessary. So we need to build the technology to do that. Crisis. Excuse me for a moment. We have a lot of crisis going on in our world. And one of the things that I've really loved about being at the NBA is they are at the forefront of dealing with it. They're not hiding behind the scenes. They want to make positive change. They want to be influential. They want to do the right thing. They want to create a social impact. And that's what we're doing. By being able to reach our fans, by being able to reach our partners anywhere, anytime, we can use that platform to have a voice, to share a voice that we are going to make positive change. These are our three big drivers for why we've shifted our model to building a direct-to-consumer business. So how do you start? Remember what I said, the NBA was about the game of basketball, licensing our content, and building partnerships. We did not have a big technology footprint. We didn't have product management teams in-house. We didn't have data scientists. We didn't have all of these things that were necessary in order to build a direct-to-consumer business. So it really was like starting from scratch. Sure, we had products and platforms that were built by our vendor partners. We had to bring those in-house and build them on our platforms. We had to build the technology in-house to be able to support these things. So now we have to hire new leaders. Excuse me. We've got to hire new leaders. We've got to hire new talent, new people, build new teams. We've got to create new capabilities. We've got to create new job descriptions and titles and career paths. Everything was new. New tooling, new platforms, new people, new process, new ways of working. Let's throw Agile into the mix. Everything was new, new, new. And a lot of new all at once. So thinking to ourselves, I was part of a governance team that, we started thinking about how are we going to do this. And we said, let's just use Agile to make us agile. I'm sure everybody's heard that before. Use Agile to be agile, right? It's funny because I was sitting at dinner last night with one of our colleagues here, and she said, what do you do? And I told her what I do, and she's like, the NBA's agile? I'm like, I know, it sounds funny, doesn't it? But no, we're trying to get there. Again, it's new, this is all new. So it's a big change. And what's the worst part of change? People, process, or tools? Which one? People. Yes. People. That's the hard part. So the first thing we said was, let's focus on the outcomes first. Figure out where is it that we want to go? What's that North Star? What are we trying to do? How do we get there? Do we have what it takes right now to get there? Nope, we don't. Can we put some processes in place, some guardrails, some governance? So we really had to kind of sit down and plan this whole thing out. How is this going to work? We have new employees, old employees, consultants, and a partner to help us build these solutions. And by the way, the partner has their own tooling and their own way of doing stuff. Let's make it easy. So I said, let's start small. We obviously couldn't hire everyone in the beginning. It was staggering, especially with the way the talent pool was, because all of this kicked off just before COVID started. Everybody's remote. We're using technology to build technology. It was a big conundrum. So we didn't have all the talent in place. Well, let's start where we can. Find your champions. Find your people that love change. Find your people that want to try something new. Find your people that want to experiment and want to be the guinea pig. Find them. They will be your biggest advocate, and they will be the ones that go out and tell their peers, hey, come on board. Come with the cool kids. This is great. So that's what we did. We found the champions. We found the people that were willing to step out of their comfort zone and try something new, do something different. And we started with a couple small teams. And I took, this is what I tell all of you in this room right now, and I tell everybody this all the time. Get the jargon and the frickin' buzzwords out of your vocabulary, because it adds nothing but confusion to the people that you're talking to. And then it sounds like you're coming in with change and the hammer. Kind of organically have them do things that they don't even realize are that thing, right? And then you can go back later and say, oh, guess what? You've been doing that all along. I'm telling you, get the jargon out of your vocabulary. It will be the biggest impact that you can make. Setting clear expectations, measuring those goals. Here's the word empower again. Empowering people. Lifting up people, helping them understand that they can, and I hate the term fail fast. Everybody says fail fast. I like to call it learn early. Help people learn early by experimenting and letting them know it's okay to make mistakes. It's not really a mistake, you're learning, right? Start small. Iterate, learn, and adapt. Just do the thing. Get in there and do it. You don't have to have it completely ironed out. Just get in there, do it. See the results. See what happens. Adapt. Change a little bit. Do something a little bit different. See how that resonates with the team. See how that works. Adapt. That's how we started our journey for this extremely large critical initiative to build out a direct-to-consumer business and build the products and services that go along with it. We're only 3 years in. I've been at the MBA for 3 years. This started right when I joined as a concept. We've been in action for 2 years putting this together through the pandemic. We've come to the office together as a group once COVID restrictions were lifted. We've come to the office in Secaucus, New Jersey. We've come there 3 times together as a group. In fact, this just happened 2 weeks ago. And I wanted to get pictures, and I've been waiting. We had a videographer and a photographer come to this event because we probably had 300, 400 people at the office. It was incredible. There was so much energy. We had a huge celebration for our app, which you're going to see shortly. Huge celebration for our app, which we did not launch yet. We organically just kind of, there it is in the App Store. We're doing a big PR launch next week. So we wanted to organically get it out there and have people use it and give us some feedback, right? Rather than a big PR stunt and then everything break, right? I was at HBO as a consultant when we built HBO Go and launched Game of Thrones the night that every server crashed. That was a fun time. So we wanted to organically get it out there, get it in people's hands, getting them using it, find the bugs, find the issues, fix them, get them out there again. We were doing deployments probably 10, 11, 12, 13 a day. And that's what you want to do. You want to make those changes quick. That's why we had to bring this in-house. If we still had a vendor building this for us, do you know how long it would take to get those changes done? Forever. So none of this should be new concepts to you guys. I hope I'm not speaking anything that's new. I'm just sharing my experience of what we've been going through for the past 2.5, 3 years at the NBA. But the culture there is incredible because we empower our people. We do. We celebrate together. We laugh together. We joke together. We cry together. We yell together. We come together from all corners of the globe. Literally, like I said, we had 300 people in the office from everywhere. It was amazing. My 3 key lessons that I've learned over the years: build relationships. Number one thing you can do is build relationships and build trust with the people that you meet, the people that you work with. And if you've gone to some of the other talks tonight, building relationships has been a key topic as well. Extremely important. Doesn't matter how knowledgeable you are, which school you graduated from. Building relationships is the most important thing you can do. And that trust. Create safety and trust for your teams, your peers, your leaders, and the people that report into you. Create a safe environment. Build the trust. Give them the space that they need to grow and to develop and to experiment and to learn and to fail. And be able to handle rejection, because there's a lot of rejection in what we do. There's a lot of rejection. Sometimes I'll go home and sit in the corner and shake and cry. But I push through, persevere, because you will break through, you will get through, you will make a difference, you will impact lives. Don't quit. Where's my quitters? Don't quit. He raised his hand here. Don't quit. Learn how to handle the rejection. All right, we're going to have a little halftime show here. There's no dancers, sorry. It was short notice. Couldn't get the dancers. But I want everybody to take out your phones. Take out your phones. And if you have not downloaded the new NBA app, please go to your app store and download the new NBA app. You don't have to register an account. You don't have to pay any money right now. Right now. If you want a subscription for certain games, etc., there's League Pass, and we have a different membership model now available to folks. But please, go download the app. Play video? Go download the app and give us the feedback, because we're not going to make it better if we don't hear from the people that are using it. Doesn't matter if it's good feedback, bad feedback, we want all the feedback. Give us all the feedback, because we want to continue to iterate and build and make it the best experience for our fans.
Right here, he's eyeing the shot clock. He's like, okay, you give me the space.
That dad really got me into it, and been hooked ever since.
13 for the game. Yasarski! Yasarski!
6 seconds left in the half. McCollum goes behind the back. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. McCollum, it's good at the horn with a little sauce to boot. Turnover, leak out. Milton. Oh, upstairs! Demetrius Jamel Morant with the rack attack. Tetakumbo. Williams, stout defense. Threw it to himself. Oh, wow.
Q&A. We have a couple of mic runners. If anybody has any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer them now or later if you want to corner me somewhere and ask me privately. So yes, if anybody's got a question, like I said, we've got some mic runners. Be happy to run over. If not, it just means we get to happy hour a little bit quicker.
okay. So specifically, the League Pass app is 50% off now, correct? Do you know? So I guess just what was the decision behind that, if you do know anything about that?
I don't know the decision behind it.
I was wondering kind of more like if that...
Maybe it's the promotional.
Right. I was wondering if that had anything to do with your app and the work that you guys have done bringing that in-house, but maybe not.
Oh, I'm sure it's probably promotional at this point. Yeah, because the app is fairly new. We actually put it out in the stores back in mid-September. But like I said, very quietly. We didn't announce it. It just kind of organically, people saw it, or they saw that they had an update to install. So it's been out for about a month and a half, and we're going to do a big PR stunt next week, so I'm sure it's a promotional offering. Take advantage! Anybody else? Any other questions?
Thank you. What is the biggest feedback you got from this, from putting it out there, and what is the first experience of your users, customers?
We liked the old League Pass, put it back. Those were our number 3 people, the people that don't want to change. But yeah, no, it's been a lot of really good positive feedback, but there have been some people that are like, hey, it wasn't broke, why'd you change it?
This one isn't necessarily app specific, but which NBA player is the biggest driver of change to what you guys are doing?
I'm sorry?
Which NBA player is the biggest driver of change? As one of your drivers of change, keeping NBA players happy and employees happy, for example, what NBA player specifically would have driven the biggest change for the NBA?
That's a great question. I don't have a lot of interaction with the players. That's a completely different department. But from what I know, there's a lot of influence and a lot of engagement and a lot of activity from a lot of players, which is great. So unfortunately, I can't tell you anyone in particular.
All right, my question for you is, as you have led this initiative within the NBA, what has been your experience with other leaders that you're trying to influence to bring them up, get them where you're at, as far as excitement about bringing this change, getting them involved, sharing that with their teams, et cetera?
Yeah, it's a challenge because it varies, right? You have some leaders that are content with how things are operating now and don't want to change. Or sure, that's great, go ahead and go off and do that, right? Like the go in the corner and innovate and come back, that mentality. Others, I kind of involve them in what's going on. Hey, come stop by and see what's going on over here, just so you can get some firsthand, knowledge of what the teams are doing, what the people are doing, to see if that will excite them. But it's so hit or miss. Everybody's so different. There's leaders that don't want any involvement, just go do your thing. And then there's leaders that are like, oh, so what's going on over there? I am hearing good things. What's everybody doing? So it really is, I've, over the course of many years, spent a lot of time sitting down one-on-one with leaders, helping understand where they're at from a mindset perspective on this whole agile transformation thing. And by the way, I really don't like the word transformation, this agile evolution. It's been a challenge because some of them feel they're under pressure, don't have the time, we have deadlines, we just have to get things done. So however you want to do it is fine with me. But it's tough.
So you said you've been doing this transformation for about 3 years. What's the one thing you would have changed after these 3 years? What's the one thing you would have wished you've changed like early in the process?
Wow, that's a loaded question. There's probably a long list of things that I would want to change. We were forced into some ways of working that I wasn't in agreement with. The one thing I think where I did add a lot of value was in our financial and accounting model for this initiative. that's a challenge. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to work with finance when it comes to Agile teams and trying to comply with accounting and GAAP. So I actually had to build an Agile accounting model for our accounting team so that we didn't have to do timesheets. Yes. Yes, and it worked. It was fantastic. But what I would change is dealing with HR earlier in the mix, because what I'm trying to do now after the fact is sit down with HR, because we're going through annual performance. We're doing performance reviews on individuals, not on teams. So again, we're just spreading the divide between working as a team and being an individual contributor. And I wish I had caught that earlier. That was probably the biggest thing I wish I could go back and change, is having those conversations with HR early on and saying, listen, this is a multi-year engagement with multiple teams that are delivering together. They have the same goals. We can't assess them individually unless they're in an individual contributor role, and a majority of them are not. But now we're going through performance reviews of individuals that are all on teams. That's what I wish I could have changed.
So change and quitting are sort of two sides of the same coin. You have to quit what you're doing to change, right? So when do you decide it's time to quit this thing and try something different?
I don't have a clear answer for that. You kind of just know. You're like, yeah, enough is enough. I've tried this, I've tried that, I've tried this. There's still no budging. All right, let's quit this altogether and see if there's any other option. If there's no other option, sometimes you just got to walk away. I've walked away from clients before. It's been hard. It's been like money out of my pocket. Say goodbye. But I've walked away from clients before because I knew it wasn't their culture, their methods of operating weren't ready for it. And I wasn't going to try and shoehorn them in and force this and make it uncomfortable when I knew it was going to get just completely wrecked and be fragile and not agile. So walk away.
Dear Jen, I called, but you still ain't writing. Just kidding. LinkedIn question, actually. We talked earlier about people that were looking for jobs. What does a company like the NBA look for when you get 25,000 applications on LinkedIn or more? Because I mean, you see it up there, and it's like, I would never apply for it because there's just too many to sift through.
Yeah, it's hard. My previous boss at the NBA told me that less than 1% of people actually get that job at the NBA. Less than 1% of applicants actually get that job. It's hard. It's a huge brand. So what do we look for? We're a small, lean company. We're about 1,500 employees, and I tell this story to others, and they laugh. So when I joined the NBA 3 years ago, you'd think of this multi-billion-dollar organization, you know, had their shit together. And I walk in and I'm like, this is Billy Bob Joe's IT shop down in the basement. Oh my, wasn't ready for this. So what are we looking for now? We're looking for new, fresh talent that can come with the skills that we don't have in-house. That's really what we're looking for. We're trying to fill that gap. So luckily, I'm not in the talent department. But in dealing with our talent department, sometimes I have to go outside and find an agency that can do all of that for me. Here's exactly what I want. And I do it with our talent folks too, but sometimes you gotta hit it from both ends, right? Our internal talent folks, this is exactly what I want. They'll show me resumes. Nope, 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 nope. Don't bring me anything that looks like this again. This one, yep. Bring me more like this. It is a challenge. And recruiting for us, it took me, I think, 3.5, 4 months before I got my job. That was all the rounds of interviews and coming in, and like, it's a long process. And to your point, NBA is such a highly desirable brand, and it's tough. We don't have a lot of open positions, and when we do, You know, it's 25,000 people that apply. So it's on our talent department to make sure that they can go through those resumes. We have to, as hiring managers, we have to tell them exactly what we're looking for, things that are must-haves, things that are, you know, deal breakers, and just go through that over and over and over and over and over and over again. I wish I had a better answer. Yeah, it's a lot. I'm sure we have some program that they're run through or some bots that are finding some stuff that doesn't meet certain criteria, certain buzzwords. I'm sure that's happening too, which is sad because sometimes you get passed over for not good reasons.
You went from an Agile coach to an executive at one of the best-known brands in the world. What are the top 2 or 3 pieces of advice you have for coaches? Like, we top out usually within an IT department or something, but what did you do to get yourself to the next level of leadership within the organization?
I took on more work than the Agile coach job description. I branched out. I had operations, which means everything from our budgeting, our resource planning, strategy work, portfolio management. I had to branch out because it's such a niche, right? If you just go into I'm an Agile delivery manager, I'm the director of Agile delivery, you're so pigeonholed into a specific area. That is now part of my role. And that's how I had to continue to move up. Well, I want to thank you all so much. Oh, we have one more question?
Thanks for taking my question, Jen. I've been going to NBA games before the merger. If anybody wants to know what that's about, hit me up. But it's still largely an American sport. You have international reach with players. What are you doing in your program to help bridge that gap internationally from outside the United States?
Yeah, we're doing a lot now. So we have the Basketball Africa League, which had their first season this past year, really trying to have that global reach and global impact and go out and further develop basketball in other countries. So there's a lot of engagement to try and bring the game of basketball outside of the US and make it more prevalent in other countries. So I think the first step is Basketball Africa League. But we have a lot of programs that go out to smaller countries and coach and teach and you know, let folks play and come on the court and play the game of basketball. A lot of outreach programs to try and build basketball as something that is predominant in those areas as well. All right, well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate you letting me be here today. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Please continue, Jennifer O'Neill.